This is Russ from Global Skywatch, and the first thing I'd like to mention is that I've had pilots call me, and out of all the pilots that called me, every single pilot has thanked me for exposing the fraud that is going on in mainstream media, where they are trying to sell off these huge trails in the sky as condensation trails. Some of them said, "Oh, I've been flying for 25 years." One of them, his wife's been flying for a major carrier for a quarter century. He flies recreationally, and he says in all those years we've never seen trails come out of jets. But the pilots that have called me have thanked me. These are experienced commercial pilots, some for carriers, some recreational, but they've never seen trails come out of jets. In my own experience, here's what I've experienced, is that since I was in elementary school, I collected pictures of jets and rockets. This was my favorite subject. I also lived on military bases like Fort Polk, Louisiana. Lived in some of the busiest airspaces in the world, like near Dulles in Washington, D.C., just north of Tampa Bay International Airport, which is one of the most beautiful and busy airports in the world. Used to fly every single year up the eastern seaboard for 3 weeks to go visit family to Florida to New York. Driven across the country, watched the sky all my life. Most of my family members have jumped out of airplanes, parachuted. I have an airborne ranger in the family. I used to take flight lessons. Many of my family members do fly recreationally. In all the pictures the thousands of pictures of jets that I've collected, in all the years of sky watching and all the flying and driving and constantly watching the skies, besides the fact that pilots call me and thank me for coming out against this tremendous fraud, that these claims that these trails in the sky are regular condensation trails, I have never, living on Air Force bases, traveling the seaboard, traveling the United States, collecting pictures, visiting drop zones on a regular basis, going up in planes, taking flight lessons, living knowing a number of pilots, knowing many people in the medical industry who own planes and going up all the time, never, ever, once, ever seen a trail come out of a jet engine. Today, 49 out of 50 jets that I see are unmarked silver jets emitting massive or small trails coming out and are unmarked and emitting trails. Furthermore, I've got a very interesting situation in that I have a very sensitive sense of smell and taste. And fortunately, in the last 10 years, I've met a whole small army of other people who do. And guess what? When these jets emit this substance that we've never seen before these programs began on a massive scale, within half an hour to 2 hours, depending on the altitude, there's a tremendous taste of metal in the air, and different chemical odors appear in the air, and not in small areas. A couple things people need to be aware of. First of all, the air that we breathe is not 100% oxygen. So what disinformationalists are doing is they're skewing the numbers and trying to make it look like all of this tremendous amount of water is coming out of jet engines. I want people to go to an airport, and when you see A330, 747, 737, 727s, DC-9s, DC-8s, when you see these jets taking off, you're not going to see water coming out of the engines. Use your senses. Trust your senses and your observations, not people you don't know. Don't listen to people you have no idea what their agenda or what their true purpose is. Jamestown, New York does not have a major airport. There's not a major airport for about 60 miles, so you never see jets in the sky. All of a sudden, in 2005, jets started crisscrossing the sky and leaving these huge trails that actually created overcast condition every single day. This was unprecedented. This has never happened before, and now it happened on a daily basis. It happened on a schedule. And 30 to 45 minutes after these low-altitude jets came spraying. These were large jets, DC-9 type jets from the bottom profile, or A330-looking jets, some of them 747s. These jets, unmarked silver jets, crisscross the sky, create a completely overcast condition. Then 30 to 45 minutes later, we have the tremendous smell of metals and chemicals in the air. They flew on schedules that were fairly tight schedules. They came at night on regular intervals. This has never happened before. And incidentally, now we have geoengineering conferences going on around the world and have for several years, where the governments of the world are saying, we're going to start geoengineering. We're thinking about it. We might just do it. And when we do it, we're going to have these jets spraying out aluminum. We're going to be adding it through some of these patented devices, which we have the patents, and we're going to be distributing these metals so they block the sunlight. This has correlated the spraying patterns with the appearance of aluminum and barium in water sources. And I myself have collected samples from across the United States and Europe, and there's another website that does this as well, and we have these rainwater with 300 micrograms per liter of aluminum coming out of the sky at the beginning of these spray events. And I could go on for hours on this, but the bottom line is there's so much evidence that this is taking place that it's just, and so many true pilots who've called me with good intentions telling me that they've never seen anything like this.